All right, our ongoing conversation with the Bridgeton landfill that is on fire next to a nuclear waste site. To talk about it, as always, Harvey Ferdman and Dawn Chapman. Dawn and Harvey, welcome back, Big 550 KTRS.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You guys forwarded me a video. There's a video out there in which one of you, I think it was you, Dawn, or somebody said, go to this mark in the tape, and the EPA admits that the nuclear waste and some of that has sort of escaped the boundaries. What was that meeting, and what was that video? What was all that about?
Well, there was a study done by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources in 2005 along the rock road in front of the dump site, in which they actually did find some elevated readings that would be above their normal remediation level. And what's interesting is EPA Director Brooks from Region 7 in the public meeting talking about the BMAC testing that the EPA was going to do, cited that very study, that specific study, as proof that there was no radioactivity that had gotten off site around the landfill. And then when we got a hold of the study, we started looking through it. And sure enough, there it is in plain black and white that Missouri DNR did find higher readings. So we brought that to that public meeting with EPA, with the project manager, and that's the video you saw, because we get to videotape those meetings.
Right.
And at that meeting, the project manager said, yeah, it does appear that it's off-site.
So the EPA was using a study that the Missouri Department of Natural Resources conducted, and then misquoted that study for all these years.
Yes.
And then finally admitted a month or so ago that, yes, we've been misquoting that study. That study actually shows that the contamination has escaped the boundaries.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Surprised that didn't get more attention in the news.
Yeah.
It just didn't. And it was really, they go back and forth. They don't know if it's a haul route or if it escaped. But I think to the community, it doesn't matter. It's there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now, what's the latest going on with all this? What should we know next about this?
Well, the latest that's going on with the ball fields in particular is EPA did an overland gamma study, which is basically this thing that looks like a baby carriage. It's kind of cool looking. And they took almost 60,000 data points because they just rolled it over the entire BMAC area.
Okay.
However, our concern is the same criticism that they had of the testing the community did, we have of the work that they did, and that's that equipment isn't really sensitive enough to pick up the things that we're concerned about in the community. So in addition to those 60,000 overland samples, they've done 100 soil digs in that ball field, and it's those 100 soil digs that we're waiting for the test results from. Those are the ones that really matter. In the meantime, EPA came out with a statement earlier this week that said that their gamma data suggests, and they actually used that word, that the ball fields are safe.
Right. So this was the ball fields where they canceled tournaments, and there was a national tournament coming in that they canceled or changed it, right? These are kids and families are saying, my kid's not playing on these fields and have moved them other places. And the EPA says, we are pretty sure that it's safe.
Pretty much.
All right. Who's Lois Gibbs?
Lois Gibbs is a mom who, in a town in upstate New York by Niagara Falls, she was kind of like us. She realized that her kids were sick and she was living on top of contaminated land. So she fought up there for a buyout, was successful, and then started, I don't want to call it a company, but an organization that goes around and helps other communities like ours and, helps them, get a buyout if they want, or,
You're talking about the famous Love Canal story.
I'm talking about the Love Canal story.
Is it time, Harvey, to invoke Love Canal in this Bridgeton landfill nuclear waste story?
I'm not sure what you mean by invoke, but
it conjures up all sorts of, because Love Canal is that's the biggie, right? I mean, that was dumping toxic chemicals, seeping into the water. Kids were sick. It was cover-ups. It was the terrible, terrible, terrible story about all this.
Yeah.
Are we insinuating, or are we flat out saying that Love Canal and this Bridgeton landfill and nuclear waste are similar?
Well, I can see similarities. For example, from the very beginning, we've been asking for off-site water testing to see if there's a plume coming out of the landfill.
Mm-hmm.
And EPA has resisted doing that. And then finally, with pressure from our congressional delegation, much due to the efforts of Dawn and the community, EPA engaged the USGS finally to do a study to see what's really going on with the groundwater. Our information is that study was delivered to EPA 5 months ago, and they still haven't released it. So you tell me who's sitting on what and why.
Yeah.
Now, there's a thing now that Westlake will have to release information monthly, correct?
Yeah, now that's on the fire side of the world, which is we have two big problems out there.
Right.
The fire, which is under the state control, and the nuclear waste, which is under the federal control. So our Attorney General, Chris Koster, has been doing a great job in enforcing our environmental laws and nuisance laws with respect to the fire side of what's going on there. He has no jurisdiction over the radioactive side, unfortunately. And recently he had to go to court at the request of the fire district to get the information that will allow the fire district to know how severe the fire is and exactly where the fire is located, should they need to go up on that hill and do any rescue operations, if a worker gets hurt, things like that. The fire department needs to know what's going on underneath there. If they're working in an environment that may collapse, because when this stuff burns, it creates a void. So there's a lot of dangers to the fire district. So now that data has to be released on a monthly basis. Before it was being released every 60 days, and now they're also releasing more data points than they were before.
I ask you this question every time you guys are here, and it's convoluted, but I'm going to try and ask it again. What's the bottom line here? What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for the EPA to act? Are we waiting for the Army Corps of Engineers to act? Are we waiting for President Obama to say something? Are we waiting? I mean, where are we? What are we waiting for in all of this?
I think we're waiting for. We've convinced just about every elected official that this is in their jurisdiction, that that FOOSRAP needs this site. It's just getting it turned over appears to be more complicated. Some say it's in the earmark.
From the EPA to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Yes.
Even though everyone has said that it belongs in the Army Corps of Engineers bucket so that they can handle this.
Yes.
And the EPA is still holding on to this, so to speak.
Yes.
And we're still under the rule from 3 or 4 years ago when the EPA said, let's just pour some dirt on top of it, right? That's what we're still acting under. That's all systems go for that. Is that the idea?
They did a supplemental study to that, which is unusual, never been done before, and now they're doing a supplemental study to the supplemental study because of the community's involvement. So I guess you could say that the 2008 decision to just dump dirt on it is on hold until all those studies are completed.
Right.
But those studies could be completed at any time. Again, EPA is not.
When you say any time, could it be 20 years? Could it be 6 months?
It could be tomorrow morning. EPA is not really an open book when it comes to sharing where they are with their various reports.
So they literally could take 20 years for this study to come down.
Yeah, but I don't think that's.
So 6 months? I mean.
I would hope that we would see EPA make a decision within probably 6 months.
Are you feeling a better sense of urgency from people at all then? Of the people who are making the decisions?
From just about everybody.
Yeah. But whose decision is that? The head of the EPA? Is it? I mean, it's we talk about a governmental agency just sort of off on their own. I mean, there's no accountability for this organization.
Right, and unfortunately, it's under Superfund. EPA itself isn't the problem; it's the Superfund laws that really have this community hamstrung. Because all the science, all the research, all the studies are done by the perpetrators, not by our government scientists.
Right. So
so it's a convoluted sort of. Even the research that's done is convoluted.
So we sit and we wait. How's the smell this summer?
It's gone down a little, and then it was back the weekend. It's hit or miss.
Right.
And I do have to give Republic a lot of credit on smell control, they're building a lot of facilities on site to pre-treat a lot of the stuff that's coming out of there, so it doesn't smell as bad.
Yeah. What about you, Harvey? You are a policy analyst for Bill Ott. He's term limited out, correct?
Oh no, he just completed his first term.
Oh, okay.
He's completing his first term, so re-election time right now.
Okay, re-election time. Okay, all right, good. All right, that's Harvey Ferdman and Don Chapman. Don, how can people find out more information about this?
Please just go to the Facebook page, Westlake Landfill, or go to the website, stlradwastelegacy.com.
That's Don Chapman and Harvey Ferdman. Guys, thanks for coming in. Always welcome.
Thank you.
7:31 here, Big 550.